Hello, Stephen Miller, Fox News, and Mr. Tom Homan, and Mr. Stephen Miller, and there are criminal enterprises and our terrorists since before America's founders were born that were propagated to hid behind and through where the differences of guilt of them, of the internationally enforced monitored conversations that our founders left declassified for us to blame on the breaching method had them entrenched, northern colonies and southern colonies, roles with even slavery only permitted, relative to how England doesn't even remember the history of English properly either, and how this maintains other. There's a breaching method that maintains other things, others ourselves, blamed for things that are in demonstration of that breaching method, and how nature shows that, and how our founders communicated it. For example, America's founders communicated for us not to refer to them as a known name, besides James Madison's name. They knew that people would would pretend that the syntax at the using the syntax as it was recorded would be pretended science, and they could be used to sense anyone not self-value collusion slash s with that. The same way religious books were written with consciousness, that the difference of people attacking the religions and their names and their sense and sensibilities. No, it was Jane Austen's phrase. And their because everyone's sensing for the hyperforeign, so to speak, that which is, for example, too. There is, there are sexes. There are two eyes. There are longing water and gas is unpolluted, that all the distinct species bodies non-distinctly. We have quality aspects of nature also non-distinct. And we are simultaneous, but also per that which is not us, nor is neither us nor them. But while it is all things anyway. Even force, well, not as force. So, but anyway, as one of the ways. One that we could discern to an extent the body that is true always as nature's complete body, and where and how we could discern that it comes with the rest of its complete identity relationship to itself, and the only increasing value of that simultaneously. In short, overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and FBI and other agencies, CIA, with their syntax, even if they made it up, it's federal crime to do that. And it's other ways worse than criminal incompetence relative to the black people's rights of us. Oh, but I have a hard job and I do this. But then they jump into, see, it only takes one person to jump in for an agency into someone's conversation as a punk, as a fake fraud, and or self-valuing collusions with the databases. Never stopped being used criminally foreign influence tactical delusions raw. Never stopped exploiting how since before America's founders were born, countries were already forced by nature to be individually grouped in together and hiding how the intelligence were there and here. Therefore, with the campuses, in ways known but also unknown. Right through world wars, it was only concentrated with psychiatry. And then with my job as a sociologist, and I work with psychiatrists. They have criminally foreign influence uses of databases hyper. Additionally, though, as it maintained, motivated to it from off the campuses, increasing, but then hyper additional collusions to hide collusion slash as to hide behind and through. So there's a reason that we were supposed to have. See, too, when you guys have sustained subject treatments, like with little boys in the girls' bathroom, and the motivations narratives of it, where you have the doctors there involved with the interagencies, putting fake transcripts there, and putting their delusions too. They have delusions in play that are relative also, wherein how they have replaced what our founders communicated to be communicated for the experts, by the experts. They have obligations to not hide, and self-value being shown needs to hide that. How James Madison and why James Madison and the plural founders directed us to understand that James Madison is the only founder that they had the security to let us know the name of. James Madison detailed why and how no one had free speech, and everyone had to pretend other to an extent slash S, or that body would be sensed and adapted to, including if it was a majority of people, they would hurt every difference next to them, including if it's any united country or colony. We are in a semi-ancient trap that forced, tricked, hurt, and persuaded. Blame people that could operate the names of countries to blame other things, others, ourselves, with the operations of that. And then to defend that wrongly. And to have the breaching method made the people that counter that too wrongly defend it. And build upon that, knowing that would build both sides, incapable more and more of affording to be short words proper by the names of the people of sciences or anyone, let alone they should be appreciated. How would they protract with? Like black people's rights of eyes. And how they were human factor. Our founders communicated for us to blame it on the breaching method. That which had multi-front against women. And all collusion slash S to an extent slash S, or that body was sensed. So you don't bring up this excuse me, the syntax of the past, leaving out the discernible criminally foreign influence databases and hiding the hyper-criminally foreign influence for itself by blaming things like criminal foreign influences until they were and are increasingly real more and more. But through our own, as time semi-collusions with it, which it only has all this power because how it leverages all identities of fact, debate, natures of debate, subject treatments, factual nature, quality aspects of nature, self-value sequence shifts, self-value delusions, and worse, predicate acts with facts, methods slash S collusions, criminally foreign influence uses of database cover-up needs, natures, all kinds of drugs and medicines crimes are with Hartford Hospital. More than there are streets in Hartford and houses on them. Just with people tied to the name Lombardo and Leahy, with the FBI director Luskin, his co-defendants, all criminal enterprises, federal criminals, their family members, their neighbors, all involved with the houses and businesses next to Hartford Hospital too, with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, people with Cuba involved with the World Trade Center attack and with cover-ups through Cuba, psychiatry with military, foreign and domestic. There's a Kuwaiti general involved with the DeMoro family and with FBI Director Robert Luskin, with a Mendez family, with people on Valley Crest Street and Weathersfield involved with sexual and medical offenders of kids years apart, and with child abusers, leaders of kids, they have roles with first forcing them, identity theft, fraud, slanders. They faked conversations with me at the Weathersfield police station, faked ties to me there when I was a kid and now I was an adult. Other kids gave affidavits about how they tried to make them put fake ties, fake nature ties to me, fake motivations. Increasingly, it's people with Central Connecticut State University and Trinity College. They have roles planting untimely deaths, collusions, and kids from private schools and public schools involved with identity thefts and frauds with people that I never have classes with, that are increasingly being brought up by other people's names, involved with databases used criminally foreign influence, their own uses of their differences, their religious spots, These are people dishonestly going into, they're picking syntax out dishonestly when they pick things out as courts, prosecutors, judges, how they have the victims advocates involved with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, sexual medical offenders of kids, military making confessions and demonstrations uh, about how they have predicate acts against me, but make confessions to pretend other. The reason they do that is because those men made me look like they knew me from other areas, like a Violet family too, with this Leahy family. A Brian Silver is one of a whole bunch of people at Harvard Hospital have a Brian Silver in the Britain Superior Court, and a whole bunch of people with retired and standing judges and prosecutors there involved with child abusers, leaders of kids, identity theft, fraud, slanders. Channel 3 News has all kinds of organized crimes with them, fake ties to kids and doctors, fake ties to me as an adult and as a kid to doctors, and with proven child abusers, leaders of kids they forced at the same time, and World Trade Center attack, predicate acts roles, and with all the countries involved, per worse recorded involved too, and then further hyper additionally with the state corrections offices and judicial branch offices, and they are recorded confessing this and demonstrating, confirming it. They pretend not by having keep your stations, answer the phone, then fake and change what's recorded, put whole fake transcripts, and then just tell people, oh, say that. They use the right to lie, but they don't have the right to lie. That's what I'm telling you. But it's the location, and now they're using wire crime. They used already wire crime acts and methods and mail crime acts and methods and self-value collusion/S with the interbranch foreign at the same time. Overt criminal enterprises, plural, and private ones at the same time, collusion/S with the same house/S, and they're educated, and they'll tell you this. It was from they already recorded that too. You guys are putting fake ties, fake nature ties, pretended now years later with people that were not even in classes together, because you guys painted yourselves in corners too with the Parks and Rec, all your uses of words like drugs and alcohol and your opinions on things. You guys are tactically delusions wrong. You guys are sicker than the diagnosis you have in the books. You have collusions keeping the people. And two, with the Somali, see, it's a type of, you guys are being used to sense where a whole bunch of different countries have been hiding lie progressions. Where and how really, see, everyone misses how the prisons too, like Sandy Hook Prison, has people from a whole bunch of different countries. It has their criminals, including if any or all of them were undercover. They have collusions all along Route 3 and with body dumping spots and with a reported serial killer associated with the body dumping spot. With the same spot involved with them with a principal child abuser they also forced with the Sandy Hook prison with all kinds of federal crimes against people charged with a crime. They don't even show them writing. Don't even allow people lawyers. All they put fake exceptions as collusion/S. Lawyers have been. We're supposed to appreciate why and how there's a witch trials place next to Webb House. Now renamed the Webb Stevens Museum. Supposed to appreciate why and how they had and have still other communicated for that place and for America's founders and for James Madison and his plan is what caused George Washington to have to go there and to meet with the French general as a narrative, but also to counter-extort. But they had to leave slavery entrenched northern colonies, southern colonies. They had to leave suffrage against women. They had to leave collusions against Native Americans. In other words, and are blaming other things, others ourselves, collusions with that too. Anything but the breaching method. In other words, that's how we keep it. Most of us discern that the campuses have collusions, keeping people speaking black and white exactly the way the breaching method assigned it to be. Oh, because it's about feelings, or it's not about feelings. Yeah, your minds when you speak about feelings too. Feelings about the hyper simultaneous, otherwise it's demonstration/S. We're using systems abridged. And let me tell you something. If you can't, read, there's a Native American somewhere on YouTube. It might be um, Navajo traditional teachings. It might be Navajo, maybe, in other words, multi-front, the names of the human species body, A through Z. The differences. Even black pupils, whites of eyes. What nature itself demonstrably showed the ancients. They're pretending it's debatable now. They have theories that are offensively used to sense and to maintain sense and sensibilities, like pretending that Thomas Jefferson was a known founder of America, or pretending that any of the presidents were / chiefs know, besides James Madison. That's what I read. That's what the about the counter store everyone. But then everyone could say, "Oh, well, we're all counter extorted, so we're in other words, they had to lie about their motivations at the same time to make there being only an extent of means to counter them. But that's all the breaching method needed too. James Madison had this declassified for us to understand that. If they tried to counter things individually grouped it together, they had to do it as fact treatment nature. Everyone was already having been collusion / us against each other. And really, it is more probable than what they speak on all sides, which we could only, even if it's not that, we could just use what they say. But it has to be about it. There's a hyperforeign using how people defend and use, and take sides with as collusions, and with exceptions, with uses of names, and with blame, and with time, and with relative to the value of infrastructure and the cost of things, and how they get away with uses of words like security. In other words, people could a breaching method that only before our founders were born, they already designed the styles of houses. And then you hear about this, you'll hear about with music playing in the background, communicating other than our founders had declassified to be communicated about that language. And those records, and those databases, and their identity of relativity to us through ourselves for a hyperforeign breaching method. That which had slavery entrenched roles only permitted northern colonies and southern colonies. Otherwise, roles blaming other things, others, ourselves than the breaching method or being sensed. But through ourselves, through layers of roles. Ourselves referring to ourselves as the human species body of individual bodies with all group differences generated by that which leads us or shows us that we have an abridgment we've missed. And we will again reveal pantheism is more probably about this, the hypersingular. But it is functional how it is hyper invisible, but still discernible as itself, nature's identity. So therefore, in something that can't be named. But the process of discerning what is showing us, like a whole bunch of details, we are offensively prohibited free speech for. Increasingly, people that were put in my classes were attached to collusions of people that I already had classes with the family members of foreign and domestic families, per worse. And everyone can only speak about the law for themselves. But you guys have to allow people to speak for the law, especially when they have the interbranch of foreign and collusion at the same time. Because you guys have hyper and foreign impositions upon yourself with your uses of different / s. as systems tactilitarian than the one that's a different identity of simultaneous nature, but not anyway. Nature is showing us. Here many pray, but also now because there is a breaching method entrenched from since before our fathers were born, and relative to qualities of fact-keeping nature. Collusions with crime methods, with predicate acts with facts methods, with medicines crimes methods, and while tactically delusions raw. These principles, these prisons, further the state corrections offices of Connecticut and the judicial branch offices have collusions interstates with the World Trade Center attack and with Washington, D.C., with two speech class teachers I had in high school, and with the students in that class, involved with all the countries in the news, and right through wars, people involved with Afghanistan, all sides of it too. This is not just a Republican and Democrat. This breaching method made the North and South fight with each other because they were still are being used remotely, criminally foreign influence, and with the rest of the states now, slash hyper criminally foreign influence. The hyper foreign needs things like criminal foreign influence is blamed until they're true more and more. It needs other things others ourselves blame. And everyone shown needs to do that too, so they can pretend they spoke about security legitimately. They could pretend they spoke about patriotism legitimately. They spoke about crimes legitimately. Nature shows us we have black people's whites of eyes to show collusion slash S. They're creating fake medical conditions in people and then to create real ones with sick pills and methods where they have federal evidence of crimes with signatures and processes and their syntax regarding it and their nature. Their tactically delusions raw. Oh, because that's where we're trying to stop crimes. Sandy Hook prisons have collusions with all kinds of crime scenes with their prisoners before they were caught, and to keep them to force the principal child abuser. Fake care against crimes. Fake care against, in other words. I read in the paper in the I believe might have been the Hartford Courant. I just looked at it in Big Y the other day, and I read about how someone was reportedly killed or reported hung, and they said that he hung himself by a towel or by a sheet in a prison cell. Sandy Hook had one, and I was directed to look over. They had one perfectly tied on a bed. When I caught them, they arrested me when I caught them by making up all kinds of things. I never even got to speak. They made the people call back a bunch of times and make confessions and confirmations about only part of what I caught them doing with the kids and with elderly homes and veterans and the interbranch. They have the interbranch, all sides of criminal and civil cases, crime scenes, body dumping spots. At the same time, collusion slash SAM with their campuses and with their neighbors. The different neighbors are conjunctions to them. The breaching method hides behind and through this. There's a method to it. My algebra class teacher has collusion slash S with people that were spying on me when I was a kid and using truths for lies and like sabotage, like because I decipher it too completely now. It's a part of the ancient gaming system, but that's .com. But that's still not totally correct. But I mean, it's not programmed properly yet, completely. But for example, this is why alpha is a part of the root word, one of the root words in the word alphabet. In omega, A stands for alphabet. Simultaneously, each letter stands for a word, and each word spells a sentence. And mother, as the middle letter of the English alphabet, stands for mother, M, the 13th letter of the English alphabet. And N comes between omega, O, That's because, and Omega is, mother is Omega, but distinctly, while non-distinctly. And that's with neutrality / neutralizing. And this is with the three identities of relationship to itself, that the rest of the complete identity of nature and or God. But see, when I use the word God, we have to first have this explained as an algebraic variable. More probably how the ancients appreciated algebra before the sciences and the names of the people of the sciences and their syntax, therefore their syntax nature, became criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions wrong, and abused at each age of fact should be nature multi-pronged, specifically to maintain styles, needs, and natures, forced increasingly to be blaming other things other than ourselves, in defenses of selves, and or just in defenses of calm, of peace, or roles with war and aggression. There are sequence shifts that all sides of issues have all kinds of collusions, all kinds of sick, angry people's voices could be healed like that. We got on the page the way we were supposed to be. We don't have that page. The school book depository, you guys don't have the quality factor nature. You never met one, some person with the identity. We can make this with the Judge Napolitano, but he can't do it by himself. He already pretended other than James Madison was our plural founder and self-valued that, sensing for the breaching method. He already prevented me with Fox News, collusions with Channel 3 News too, and with a bunch of families next to them through time, Fox News and Channel 3 News, and WTNH, which is also next to them, is the FBI in New Haven, Connecticut. Increasingly collusions with multiple agencies in a whole bunch of different countries, with child abusers, leaders of kids, with a Fred Grisette, and others that sought me out on my C Street to make confessions. Demonstration confirms people involved with John Mayano too, with bakeries, with retired police chiefs, and their intimate ties, involved with sexual medical offenders of kids, overt criminal enterprise, private ones, and their campuses, putting fake things in databases and then acting tied to it. Identity theft, fraud, slanders. John Mayano has collusions too with people on my street that brought up these bakeries in their confession and their roles with more child abusers, years of kids. People that have been playing, people in the years ago that acted so others could take pictures. They have the whole databases recorded how criminally foreign influence, self-added collusions with it. Then they're going to want to make businesses up. Well, how are we going to do business with it? There's no integrity. They want to fish with all the truth in the databases. The breaching method knew those things would be going on. I show it orchestrates. It has their schools criminally foreign influence. It has the industries originally instilled, like psychiatry, right through world wars, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw, tied right, juxtaposed with interbranch too. No, ones with badges, good gobble, tactically delusions raw. Came through. Oh, but I had a degree. The whole campus with you guys in your degree. You can't even get on paper legitimately. You have to fake transcripts still. Even now that we have cameras everywhere, they use that to pretend things are recorded, to put fake ties between kids and transcripts to make kids that go to campuses they think they're going to safe because they're going to have a film 24/7. They're using that to fake ties, fake natures of ties to them, and motivations for it. All the roles with all the countries involved with the World Trade Center attack and counters to it, they have collusion /S, and with the town lines, and they bring up their differences. Marines know my name. I don't even know their name. President Trump too. Don't blame me trying to attack their thing. They're making confessions. Their rules are more sexual medical offenders of kids, leaders of kids, with a whole bunch of different countries over criminal enterprises. Then as strangers, they're going to jump on Facebook because I didn't make the reaction they want. I kept getting things confirmed to me on Facebook by people planting evidences intercities on my as collusion people on my street, and with body dump spots years ago, and with the child abuse leader of kids, and with this Kevin Dillon, people planted evidence on all sides of my house with Inspector Mike too, and Officer Jerry Miller. There's an Officer Hunter too, with the Hartford courts, and with the Brent Superior Court and the District Court. They have collusions with a Dean Judd, and with the intelligence families planting evidences with former Director of the FBI Robert Luskin, various natures of federal criminals, and overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and more sexual and medical offenders of kids tied to Lena's Pizza, and to people involved with Fox News planting evidences with the stories with fire departments tied to a report, so for example, of someone that was burned the house to get out of the house. The fire departments have collusions too with their family members, showing they need to hide how they run in to hide life progression. Because everyone pretends they have free speech. We don't have free speech. This breaching method uses you to repeat fake things, just right where and how it keeps you guys incapable of following mandated law. When people, even if when they speak about World Trade Center predicate acts, you hide that, change what they say, and go fishing with truth, and pretend that the databases have integrity. You guys are that's why you guys are forcing what I caught you doing with names out next to the campuses I went to since I was the youngest kid. Same ones, collusions of World Trade Center attack predicate acts. In other words, and these are good people. In other words, but everyone's speaking through others too. Specifically, with this, for example, everyone has been evil with black people's whites of eyes, with your opinions on it. Not you're dishonest. You've been traitors. The styles that pretend together to sense, okay, we're collusion. No one's sensitive. Pretending you guys are about oaths. You're supposed to be about the Constitution unabridged. Why and how we have rights that are too numerous to have to list them. You do that, you pay attention. The human mind clears out the streets from the foreign problems here and there. And if we have to make a hyper for it, there is space means come out of nowhere. So you guys have been systems of order, tactical ulterior from how nature uses it. The identity of order that is three natures of time. As the identity of forever nature, making more of its identity of volume through temporary / lasting space nature. And this is how English was revealed to be taught. Because this is how nature reveals it. When there was historically, the moment there's a law that touches black or white, how and why we have black people's whites of eyes is inseparable from it. We have had people with theory that are dishonest with their nature of debate and in defense of themselves. And of others in their research, they value criminally foreign tactical delusion or fact attribute quality aspects of nature as criminal insidiousness nature / hypercriminal insidiousness nature. I'm not even a lawyer. Dear President Trump / Chief Trump, if there's some way that we could force Judge Napolitano to communicate with me, they already have his Facebook page with Fox News and during it, then and since, and with CNN, and with MSNBC, and with CBS, NBC, Fox News. All the networks, even exceptions, even the family members of relative investigations, investigators, and journalists, their campuses. Everyone will say, "Oh, well, I don't know about that," but they want to talk about it. They can't get on paper legitimately. Can't afford details, but they actually recorded that be discerned. I don't know. UPS has a bunch of people on Covington Street next to New Britain, Connecticut, that they sought me out with people years apart, connected, involved with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and people on Covington Street in New Britain, Connecticut, involved with people on Two Route Highway in Hangdog Lane in Wethersfield and in Newington, and through conjunctions with the Borough Turnpike, along the Borough Turnpike, which before the heart of Hartford, Connecticut, no, the capital of Connecticut, and along Route 3, which is those two roads are conjunction, it's connected straight from to Route 3. In a little more than a 45-degree angle. People involved with the town lines there have collusions with the names of the countries in the news and with the World Trade Center attack. They also have the police forms out next to banks and campuses and town lines involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, wire crime acts and methods, falsified transcripts into branch and interstates with the names out next to the World Trade Center towers and in the Ninth Circuit Court next to it that morning. You guys have too many collusions with this breaching method that already shoot with differences. Including your own with I don't like them. So you guys are collusion speaking about our founders. You guys are framing our founders. And you guys are the one trying to defend them, framing them for slavery too. The only founder we know the name of is James Madison. And he detailed how and why they wanted nothing to do with slavery. How and why, if anyone spoke up about any part of all the things they didn't want to get entrenched, they were sentenced. Excuse me, thank you. Please follow me into the law, Mr. Homan. I'll donate my time to help you. I will watch. Because these are people with the long term, since before our founders were born, here and there, that don't understand really how and why the breaching method had next to the campuses. As one's intercities on my street were involved, in other words, all kinds of people involved interstates, and with the people with UPS, has men and women with the name Bobby, and the woman has a bunch of boyfriends. One of them with the UPS, and involved with people with the corner of Elm Street and Rocky Hill, and Route 3, and people involved with the leasing agent's son, and other boyfriends at the same time are involved with predicate acts against me. And with investigators like with New Britain Superior Court and Harvard courts and their family members and intimate ties involved with foreign and domestic military, overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and people involved with multiple police departments with proven child abusers, leaders of kids, and retired principal police chiefs tied to the same house /S and their extended family members, also increasingly involved with the interbranch, putting fake transcripts and ties to me and little kids into databases. These are also increasingly people collusions with names at and next to Hartford Hospital with houses and businesses there through time. And with people from other countries in the news, they should fear God for having missed the delusions too of psychiatry. Get them on paper, one name in sequence, please, Mr. Miller and Mr. Homan. I'll help you guys a lot. And right from here, too, because they use wire crime acts and methods and fake transcripts, right to lie, we don't have the right to lie. Former standing chairperson on the Racketeering Influence Club Corrupt Organizations Act has a Thaddeus Grabowski, has a Robert Chevrolet, has a Dominic Lebriato's neighbors involved with sexual medical offenders of kids with probate court family members and their intimate ties together. There's different probate court families involved with a whole bunch of different countries like Venezuela, Italy. Judge Smith with religious spots too, putting fake things in databases with a Subby Bejerio, with proven child abusers, leaders of kids years apart. Subby Bajario and Jeremy Grohl have federal. I don't know. He had that. I wasn't with them. They stole some speaker by, or at least Subby Bajario did. I don't know who was with him when he did it. Stole speaker boxes and or not speaker boxes, stereos. He recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. There's a Judge Smith involved with that, and him with names on all sides of the Weathersfield Community Center. People at the Weathersfield Community Center also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. They have people with the Parks and Recreation also involved there, with people with Hartford Hospital, with identity theft, fraud, slander, putting fake things in databases at campuses and at other locations /s. It has something to do with people all along Route 175, from the founding locations in Old Weathersfield all the way to Central Connecticut State University in New Britain. Our people have roles with federal evidences crimes, digital crimes, with the Facebook page of Weathersfield Police, and the Facebook page of the Britain Superior Court and the FBI, with the former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin. Dean Judd and his kid are also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved collusions. And like some Mendez police, Attachment, I never had a word of conversation in my life, let alone at the police station, with the older Mendez police brother, reportedly a brother. And they forced my Saudi ex to collusion /us with them. Also with people named Scaloro that have been planting identity theft, fraud, slanders against me since I was a kid. And with people named DeMorrow, involved further with recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, proven child abusers, leaders of kids, and more. They have recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed collusions with then and now, more. And on and off campuses with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, involved with victims advocates, with grammar school kids and middle school kids, with identity theft, fraud, slanders, with a whole bunch of other countries, involved with the families involved with that, and their titles, where they use the right to lie, where they don't have the right to lie, and where it is also where they leak things that they're supposed to be hiding, and they want to debate that because there's other people involved, they get away with it. We know the words. We still have locations, areas, and states that are criminally foreign influence, tax-free, delusions wrong, / hyper criminally foreign influence. That's the problem here. Free the mind. The rest will follow. I believe that's the song too. I don't know. But that's right. Please follow me. Did a lot for them, Mr. Miller. I have to get the interbranch onto paper with the news first, because there are other countries involved, including wartime collusion with the World Trade Center attack predicate acts, and all these federal criminals tied to and as ones as also as co-defendants, the former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, in a 2006 case. Also, increasingly collusions with people next to Fox Connecticut News in Hartford, Connecticut, and next to the Capitol, involved with them with mail crimes, shipping crimes, the witness protection program, uses of corners of streets near me, involved with people that were planting evidences on my campuses behind my back. And they try to make it fake over if someone was in a class meeting. I never had words with them, like multiple times. They pretend all of a sudden there's another word. Get them on paper and let's go. They know that they paid to do another word.